Well, I've recently discovered I hate wiring, so that's new. Hello, welcome to HJR Garage. I am Henry. Now, for those of you who haven't watched, this is my MGB and it's got a Jaguar V6 engine in it. And we've been doing that over the last kind of 11 months or so. It started off with restoring the car, new sills, wings, all the panels you can think of. Then I painted it and then I installed this engine. So that's a little roundup of what we've been doing. But in this episode, I need to wire the car. Now, I have absolutely no experience in wiring. Zero, zilch, nothing. And it is extremely overwhelming. I've got so many wires, so many diagrams, so much to do, basically. So I just need to get my head around where to start. And I think once I get started, it'll all kind of pop into place and I'll work it out. But at the moment, it's extremely daunting. So let's not waste any time. Let's just try and do something just to get me going on it. So I thought I'd start off by showing you what I actually have or have purchased to enable me to wire the car. I've laid it all out under my carport. So I have a Jaguar S-Type V6 engine wiring loom. Now I'm hoping just to be able to use the connectors from this, because it's got all the connectors on it apart from one, and I think that's an injector. Sorry, a coil pack, I think, but I have no idea yet. I have purchased from Emerald a relay and fuse pack for like the main fuse and relay and the fans, fuel pump, etc. So they'll all run through that. I've purchased a flying harness, which is open-ended, so that it plugs into the ECU. It's got some of the wires connected already, but it comes with all of the different colours and everything you need to wire up an engine. I've got an Emerald ECU, which comes with loads of bits and bobs. It's a K6, slightly older one. It came with my engine, so yeah, I need to wire that in somehow. I've got all the kind of diagrams and pinouts and stuff. I've got the Jaguar kind of manual with all the bits and bobs in it. I've got a holder, stuff for my like temperature sensing, various clips and solder. I bought a multimeter, fuse box for the actual MG, loads of connectors and fuses and heat shrink, cable ties, more connectors and all the things, Loom tape, more clips. That is the electronic fuel pump wiring, not the fuel pump, the water pump. So yeah, sound deadening to mount the ECU with. So now you can see why I'm a bit daunted. All of this has to go in the car somehow, some way. I don't know where to start. I think the best thing to do to start off with, just to get myself used to kind of the wiring and all that type of stuff and get my head around it, is to put the original MG loom back together. So the heater and the horn and all the little bits, and kind of, obviously I'm not going to put the headlights in and stuff until I've polished the car, but get the wires to where the headlights would need to go. And if I can sort all the MG wiring out and get that all neat and tidy, at least that's less kind of going on, isn't it? So I'm going to sort that out now, or attempt to. So when I took this wiring loom out of the car, I labelled everything up, and you can see I've just placed it all roughly in the right place here. Now I don't need all of these wires, I only need some of them. I need to work out which ones I need and which ones I don't. So I've got a new fuse box, and it's just stuff like this. This was for the starter motor. Now I'm going to need some of those, but I don't know what yet. It's for the alternator. I'm going to need some of those, but I don't know what yet. So yeah, I need to get my head around it, and then I'll give you an update of kind of where I'm, or what I'm doing, and kind of where I'm up to. But bear with me on this one. So I've made a start. I had a few broken connections and things, so I've tried to repair those. I'm going to cover it all in Loom tape and stuff. So the ones that are repaired are the red connections, and that's just using simple crimp fittings. Because it's deep in the MGB, I'm not that bothered about that. I have got some waterproof ones for the headlights if I need to and stuff. I was going to change every single one, and it's just going to be too time consuming. Maybe that's a job for the future. You can see the fuse box is all in. I need to tidy up all the wiring. I've got the ground on there. I've connected all of these. The ones that are left are the ones that I don't have at the moment. So that is a reverse light. So I need to take that from the RX-8 gearbox somehow. That's the overdrive switch, which I don't need at all. I might be able to utilize that to do something different at some point, which would be cool. Because it's quite a neat little switch in the interior. Be cool if that did something else, wouldn't it? So now I'm looking at the starter motor, and I'm obviously using a Jaguar S-type starter motor, and you can see the connections there. So there's one smaller connection at the top, that silver one there, and there's a brass connector that goes just straight from the solenoid to the starter motor, and then there's one empty one there. The empty one, that first one, I need to connect my battery cable to, and then all like those ones as well. So there's going to be quite a lot of wires going into that one cable. On the MG, there's a point here, which I'll put a picture of on the video so it's easy for you guys to understand. I'll also put a picture of that starter motor so that you can actually see it. They connect together. One of them has, there's like a plug connector on the actual kind of loom, on the starter motor, sorry. So they're together, they do the same thing-ish. And then that one is like the switch to tell the starter motor to do starter motor things. And that needs to go, I think, to the smaller connector, which is almost impossible to see. Yeah, I can't get that any better or clearer, it won't focus, but that one there, the nut and the thread, is I think where that one is like the sense wire. I have looked at some wiring diagrams and stuff, so from my very basic understanding, I think that's right. I'm not sure. But it makes sense that the bigger brass connector would be the one where all the wires kind of for the power go. And basically you connect it into the starter motor, and the starter motor distributes it to like the fuse box and everything. And that's how the MGB works. So I'm going to try and do the same thing on this. And obviously it just needs a sense to kick the starter motor into life. So yeah, I'll have to put some new connectors on there so that they go over that kind of thread that bolts it all together. And then, yeah, I should be able to wire it up. Right then, the starter motor is wired up. It wasn't easy, but managed to get it done. The bolts are in difficult places. I had to get one of my like extended kind of long reach socket things. Anyway, it's in now, all the wiring's done, and I've tried to tidy it up a little bit as well. So I've cable tied some wires together and things. I'm going to put some Loom tape over it, I think. This looks a mess, but I've not finished with it yet, so it's going to have to stay. I kind of cable tied different bits. They're not ideal, but they're on and they will work. It's just, I wonder whether that was a little bit further down before. Anyway, I think it's going to be quite difficult to get it to look completely neat and tidy. Starter motor is wired up. You can see the big power lead go into there, and that smaller cable goes to the kind of input there. There you go. Oh, camera keeps on changing around for some reason. There you go. So all the main battery cables are connected to that one on, well, at the bottom of the screen, and then that one there is for the kind of like ignition supply to tell it to turn over. So that's now done, or kind of done, nearly done. I need to look at the alternator wiring. That's the last thing kind of that I can do on the original Loom that's not headlights and horns and things. The alternator wiring is a bit of a pain. I think I know where all the wires go, but I need to do something about the actual terminal block coming out of the alternator. Now, if you've watched the previous episode, you'll have seen me fit this alternator, and I was really worried about getting the wires in. Now, the wires are in, but that connector at the back is on the radiator, essentially. So I need to do something else with it. I don't know what yet, but I need to do something else. Because at the moment I've got like this little plug connector that I've kind of put on the other end of this, that I can wire into, which I thought would be the best solution, but that is just too close. There's no, as soon as the engine moves, it's just going to disintegrate that plug and the radiator. This camera is not focusing today, is it? So yeah, the alternator is a pain to get in and out, as per everything on this car. This engine's just too big for this engine bay, really. So I'm going to try and get that out and then see what I can do with the wiring for it. Right, I've kind of fixed the alternator-ish issue. I've done it in a very unique way. I'm not sure whether it's going to work, but we're going to try and see what happens. Basically, the back of the plug was the bit that was fouling. I was looking at it thinking, to take the alternator out, I need to take the radiator off because of this kind of shroud that goes around the radiator, and everything for the radiator is attached to that shroud. And it was just turning into a massive job. So I did a very HJR garage thing to do. I got a saw blade, which I heated up with a blowtorch. Well, first of all, I put it in the grinder and ground like a really sharp edge on the end of it. And then I heated it up with a blowtorch, and then I just put this down the radiator like that and across and melted the back of the plug. Made sure I didn't get the wires or anything. And it's giving me the clearance I need. There is a gap now. A bit dodgy, a bit of a bodge, to be honest. But if it works, it's not wrong, is it? So we'll see. I've also had a little trip to Halfords because I realised I didn't have enough wire to wire the alternator because it's on the passenger side of the engine instead of the driver's side like the MGB one was. Now, let me show you the alternator wiring. This is the alternator wiring. Now, you've got the main battery, which goes to the B point on the alternator, which is the little kind of bolt there. The other three wires are for these. One of them is a battery, and then you got these, which are ignition sense and a warning lamp for low current or whatever, low battery voltage. Now, alternator not working. This is my wiring diagram for the alternator, and you can see signal, ignition, live. And you can see if you follow this back, well, actually, I don't know if that is live. Lamp, that's what that is, lamp. So it goes ignition switch through the warning lamp to that one. This one is also for the ignition switch, so ignition sensing to the middle pin. And then that is, well, this one essentially. It's just another live from the battery. I think that's a sense signal or something like that. Anyway, I've bought from Halfords, it's the only thing they did in this wire size, a amp wiring kit. So if you were putting a speaker system in your car and it needed a bit more power, you put an amp on it. So that's what I bought. Now it's got a brown wire in it. That's the reason I bought it. And it's the same thickness as the wire that I've taken off, or that I've cut. So it was an expensive kit just for this one wire. I didn't want to have to wait a day and order it all and stuff, which I probably should have done, but never mind. So now it's the right colour and the right size. So I should be able to wire the alternator up. So I'll do that and show you what it looks like afterwards. Well, I've recently discovered I hate wiring, so that's new. It's really awkward and fiddly and exactly what I expected it to be. I think I've wired an alternator. I think I've also tied up some other wires. It's so difficult to know if I'm doing it right or not. I need to do some Googling tonight and make sure I've wired it all correctly. This is how I've done it so far. So you can see the alternator wiring runs down there. Don't worry about that, that's the electric water pump. I made them slightly too long, so I've looped them back of themselves, I've clamped them. That clamp is a bit too small. I've not tightened it up all the way. That's not crushing that wire. It's quite loose. It's just hold it in position. It's got a nylock on the other side, so it's not moving anywhere. I've ran it down the steering rack and then up to the alternator, like that. The connection at the top and then the connection at the bottom. That's what I told you I did before with a saw to give it clearance. So it has got about 1mm clearance. Hopefully that's enough. So I've used cable ties on the steering rack, which is fine until I need to take the steering rack out, but I'll cross that bridge when I come to it. Next up, I've kind of used some more clips there and one there to bring the wiring loom up and underneath here and have it all secure. That's not moving now, so that's good. This wiring is going to be an extremely slow process, isn't it? I've managed to wire a starter motor and an alternator, potentially. Good morning, it's a new day. I did have a look about what to do at the end of yesterday, but it just got too late. I had the kind of normal wife at the back door saying, come on, it's late, you need to come in. So I did. So now it's time to start trying to wire this ECU. Now, my first plan is to give it power. So I'll show you what I've kind of done at the end of yesterday just to kind of prepare myself. So I've taken the carpet off from the transmission tunnel. I've taken the speaker kind of housing out, which never had a speaker, and I've taken the ignition switch, my brain's not working this early, out from there and brought it back through into here just so I can get access to all the wires. Because I need a switched live from the ignition and I need a permanent live. So my permanent live is going to run straight to the battery. I'm using the speaker cable, or the amp cable rather, to do that. I'm going to run a hole through here, I think. It's fused to give the ECU and all the relays like a fuse to start off with. And I'm going to run it down the side here, tuck it into this corner, and then I think I'm going to mount my ECU around here somewhere. I'm not 100% decided yet. I need to figure that one out. And I've got this relay box, which I'm going to wire into now. It's got 2 battery points here that I can just put together and connect to this wire. That's the plan. It's going to be incredibly hard to film inside the car, but I'm going to do my best. And let's try and mount everything up and at least get the ECU some power today. So you see me kind of do a bit of painting, drill a hole for the wire and stuff. Not much progress really so far today, because I'm stuck thinking about what I'm gonna do. It's all getting a bit kind of overwhelming, but I just need to do like what I've done with every other piece of this car and just kind of work through it step by step. My first decision is where to mount the ECU. It's completely new. Either I mount it completely kind of easy access, can get all the wires in, all that type of stuff. But that means if it's easy to get to, it's easy to see. And do I want to be able to see it? Or do I want to have the interior all kind of nice and standard looking? So I'm thinking of not putting the glove box kind of back in apart from this lid, having the ECU behind it like that, probably a bit further that way, and using that kind of hole there, which I've got a rubber somewhere. I've got a rubber somewhere that plugs that hole, and I can cut a hole in it for the wire to go through. And I then mount the relays and stuff next to it like that. And that's how it kind of looks when you open the glove box. That's the ideal solution. That's the solution I want to do. I just need to work out whether I can get to all the wires, whether I'm just going to make it a lot harder for myself doing it that way because it's going to be all tucked up in there. I don't know. The other location for it is just there. Mount it to there. I'm not going to have a radio speaker there anyway. I can put it in this kind of recess, and that thing that I've got there will screw over it, and unless I need to access the ECU, it'll be hidden away behind that. That's another option. The other option is just literally put it on the side there, but I've got to try and think about future-proofing the car, and the ECU is going to end up getting kicked by somebody in the passenger footwell, which is something else I've got to worry about. So my two real options are there and there. Now, I've been wasting time for quite a few hours, or maybe not wasting time. I've been looking through all my paperwork, looking at the Loom, looking at all the pin-out kind of diagrams and stuff, and just trying to get my head around it so that I'm more confident to start kind of this wiring process. Because I wanted to know that before I mounted the ECU so that I knew kind of where the wires were going and how much room I had and all that type of stuff. I'll give you a brief kind of look at all my paperwork and stuff. So this is what I've got. I've got a wiring diagram that I made where it's got all the wires going to all the different sensors and everything. But I've got sensors on here that I don't actually need, which I'm still getting my head around. That is the sensor location diagram for a Jaguar S-Type V6 engine. It tells you where all the sensors go, which is good, and then what they are there. I've got two different pinouts, one for my flying loom and one for the ECU. This is the ECU. That comes with the firing order and like a pinout diagram like that as well. I've got this one, which is from a flying loom, which tells you what everything could be. Now, on the flying loom so far are these. So I've got ignition supply, battery ground, sensor ground, crank, sensor switch, crank and cam sensor ground, coolant temp, map sensor signal, fuel pump relay, the VVT, air temp sensor, which I've ordered now because I didn't have one. It didn't come on the Loom I bought or anything, which I'll tell you more about that in a second. Cam sensor switch, tacho, ignition supply, map sensor, TPS. Now that is the bare minimum, and that's what's already plugged into this kind of Loom. I need to work out what else I need to make my engine run. What else, basically what's missing that's on that flying Loom that my engine requires. That I think is enough to actually start it with just those wires, but you want more kind of sensors and stuff, like there's no oil pressure or anything on that. So we'll see how I go with all that. Now, air temp sensor, I'm running ITBs, so normally your air temp sensor would be in your inlet manifold. I don't have an inlet manifold. I've got 6 separate ones essentially. So you can put that in the engine bay. I'm going to try and put that somewhere close to one of my inlets to get an accurate kind of air temp, so it can adjust the fuel ratio and stuff. That's what that's for. So I'm going to carry on looking at this and try and get my head properly around it, and then I will move on to kind of locating the ECU and all that type of stuff. I think I got ahead of myself slightly before I did all the basics. Right, I realise I'm backlit a little bit here, so it's hard to kind of see me. But I have been digging more through these diagrams and figuring out exactly what to do. So I'm now going to wire the plug for the ECU with all the ones that I need as well. So I'll show you. Excuse my scribbly handwriting. I was just really quickly writing it down. So those are the ones that are already connected that I need. Apart from that fuel pressure, I don't need a fuel pressure because I'm going to have a wideband, which I don't have yet, but that's going to be the last thing I install. So yeah, I'm going to get to kind of this plug and all these wires that I've got in here and try and pin out all the ones I need. So my wife's going to kill me for filming at the dining table, but never mind. So I'm going to start off with number one. So number one, I'm not going to do this for every wire, by the way. I'm just doing it for one. I'll put you on a time lapse when it comes to everything. So number one is injector 4, which is a yellow and black wire. So I can go to all my yellows, which comes in the pack from Emerald, which are already pinned out, and I can see there is a yellow and black wire. So I know that that is my plug, and that is the right direction of it. By here, the back of the plug, and that there is number one. So I just need to double check which way they go around. So it's that flat bit at the bottom. I should just be able to pop that in there. And hear it click. That's done. So I need to follow this, and everything, and wire all this plug up with the correct wires for the correct points of the ECU. And then I can look at routing all the wires and all that other stuff afterwards, once I've got this sorted. Sore fingers, but that is kind of all wired up to the ECU with the ends just open. I need to add kind of supplies and stuff into that. I'm going to worry about that after I've done the initial kind of one wire on each. I'll show you kind of what it looks like. Now it's very daunting, but I've got the wires going through there and the ECU just resting there at the moment. I'm going to leave enough room on these so that I can pull the ECU in and out and have a little bit of cable just spare. I've still got to wire in a few different bits of that come from the relay thing that I've got here into the ECU that I didn't want to just kind of, it's easier to take the wire from the relay than it is and repin the ECU than it is to do the other way around. So yeah, I'm going to mount the ECU now and the relay box in that glove box somehow. I've not kind of figured out how yet, but I will try and figure that out, and then we will get on to kind of wiring the actual engine. So I've drilled the holes for that ECU to be mounted in the glove box, or where the glove box would have been. I've painted it just with some primer. I'm going to do the full interior at some point, but it's down my list of priorities. If you can hear anything in the background, my son is currently playing in a paddling pool. So you might hear that. I have got some foam kind of tape thing, nice and thick, that I'm going to put on in between the bolt holes, and then I'm going to bolt that ECU in, and hopefully that can stay there then. And then I need to mount the relay kind of board thing. Right, we are slowly making progress. So I've put one of those soldered joints in there. That is the main power supply to the relays. I've put some loom tape just right it goes around corners. I've tucked it into the corner there, and it goes directly to the battery. The fuse there, so I'll be able to sort that side of it out when I get a new battery. Now I need to work out what's next. Right, I've been a little bit busy. It's really warm today again, so not ideal in the car. Never mind. So I've wired up the live, I've wired up all the ignition lives, so switched live, and I've got a wire through to wire up the fuel pump, so I'll show you that. Basically my thought was everything that needs to kind of go to the back of the car I'll get done first. So in there is a ignition live. There was a white wire dangling down here which I tested with a multimeter, and it did hook up straight to that with no resistance or very little. So I used that. I don't know what it was for, but it was unplugged, so it was worth it. This is my live cable running down the car. There's wires and crap everywhere, but that goes into there. And then there's the earth that runs down the same wire and all the way to the ECU, which is up there. This is my fuel pump wire. Now, this comes from the relay because a fuel pump requires more power, so a relay is used to switch it. I might be teaching some of you to suck eggs, but a relay is used for higher current kind of applications. So stuff that you don't just want the ECU to run on its own because the ECU doesn't have enough power. The fuel pump itself requires power to run. It's not just a sensor or something that just needs a little bit of ampage. So you use a relay, and a relay is a big heavy duty switch essentially that doesn't kind of corrode over time. So every time that you use a light switch, you might see a little flash. Every time that flash happens, it's putting a little bit of, I call it corrosion, I can't, something that kind of makes the connection slightly worse each time. A relay shouldn't do that, or not as badly anyway. So we use them to control the higher power circuits. So I've got one for fans, or I'm going to have fans, a main relay that's going to do kind of the injectors and coils and my variable valve time and an IVAC and the wideband sensor that's going to run all of those. Yeah, fans. And I've got an auxiliary one from this kit that I think I'm going to use to run the water pump, because it's an electric water pump. Now, the wiring from the relays isn't the same as the kind of ECU. It's not the 3 meters long or whatever the ECU one is, so you can just wire it up. The relay ones are probably about 1 meter, maybe 1.5 meters. So I'm going to extend this wire to get the pump. I'm just going to use red wire. might not be the most ideal thing to use, but at least it comes out of the relay the right colour, and then it goes to a positive, essentially a red. So that's what I'm going to do, and then I need to make a ground up as well. Right, I've run the fuel pump wire all the way down. I am going to put it inside these clips. I just haven't got round to it yet. I'll do that at the end. I think I'll put these cable ties on for now. I'll open them back up again and put them in there. Same with that. Like I'll sort that out. That's the ground for the fuel pump. That's the live, obviously, going to here. That's my joiner coming from the ECU. It's the only wire that's doing anything that's coming down to the back of the car, so I'm not bothered that it's red. I'll have to do. So yeah, that's that done. I think that's really good progress for kind of, well, it's the second day, isn't it? But the first day with the actual ECU stuff. I'm getting my head around it slowly. It's coming. So I'm going to call it quits for now, and I will see you bright and early in the morning to carry on trying to wire as much as possible up. Good morning, I'm back in the garage. Today I want to start by kind of wiring the first bits on the engine, and I want to do that by wiring the injectors first. So I have been through my paperwork, looked at the wiring loom that I've got on the floor, which is easier to get to. I've unwrapped the injector kind of loom and plug for that wiring loom to see what colours the Jaguar used for each injector, and then I've cross-referenced it with my list so that I know what to plug into where. Let me show you. So this is the injector rail. That is, I think it was for something to do with the throttle on the S-Type. I'm not too sure, but I'm going to use that for my coolant sensor, I think, because as long as I just use the correct pins there, it should be fine. That's the theory. But anyway, injectors. So I worked out that basically, as you sit in the car, these injectors are like that. So you look at the engine firing order somewhere, or sorry, the injector numbers. So you've got 5, 6, 4, 3, 2, 1. Okay, so I looked at basically they all share a common power, which goes into this block in the middle and comes out to each one of these. The common power is supplied by the green and red, which is here. So I can pin my common power from my relay into that pin there. So injector 6 was yellow and brown. So again, I can go into here and see yellow and brown there. And I can pin my injector 6 into that, etc., 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 for all these different colours. So it's going to be tricky. I'm going to end up cutting the plug off this loop here, de-pinning it, and trying to work out how to repin it with my pins and my wires. So yeah, all very kind of tricky, but it is what it is. I'll show you how I'm going to distribute power to those injectors and coils, etc. So as I said before, on the main relay are going to be coils, injectors, the VVT, the IACV, which is the idle control valve, and my wideband sensor. So I've got this fuse block here. I'm going to print out some proper labels and just for now I've just wrote on them. So injectors, I'm going to run a common power to all of these. So I'm going to come in here or wherever and loop to each one of these with a common power from that relay. And then I can come out on this side with all the separate wires to each of the separate things. So for example, that injector one there will have a common power to that block there, to power the injectors on that green and red point. Yeah, green and red, which is that top pin there. I've separated all my wires out, so these are my injector wires here. So I can run them as neat as possible around there and into that plug. It takes a lot of brain power to kind of figure all this out, and fair play to the people that do this all the time, because it's complicated. I'm sure you get used to it, but trying to work out and know what everything needs a power supply, everything needs a feed from the ECU, all that type of stuff. So I've managed to lift this kind of cap up. I did that by putting a screwdriver down the back there, prising that open, and then getting a screwdriver in the side and lifting it up. That's the locking mechanism. I pulled 2 pins out already. How you pull the pin out is you get your pin removal tool, like this. You put it in between. It's hard to film and do. Basically, there's a little tab on here that goes into that slot there. You've got to pull that down and pull at the same time. I can't film it, but that's what you do. So there you go. I've got a pinless connector. So now I can put my pins in it and connect it up. So, after depinning that, we've not got the right pins. I bought a box full of different types of pins. None of them are the right ones. It's fantastic. Now I need to think of a solution. I could use my connector instead, my connectors that I've got. I could solder wires to each individual one. I need to have a think about it. Update time. I have a solution. Might not be... Well, I'll let you be the judge of it. That's the original connector. Injectors are all here, all labelled 1 to 6. Live, the injectors, and then the cooling temperature sensor. Cooling water temperature sensor are those two with C on them. I mean, they should be able to just go in like that. It's I think it's quite a neat solution for not having the right equipment and kind of making do. So now it's time to plug that in to the car, and then I can do the others. We have made some progress. It's fantastic. We've had a backward step as well, which is typical, isn't it? The engine loom I bought is for the wrong model year of Jaguar S-Type V6, which is frustrating. The main difference being that loom uses a 4-pin coils, and mine's 2-pin coils. So I've had to order some new connectors. I also didn't have my temperature sensor connector and my air temperature connector, so I've ordered them. So I can't do any of that. And now I need to figure out what I can do next to kind of make progress still. So I found some pins in that little collection that do fit these Ford style connectors. They're just like a really tight fit, and you have to just clip one of the little wings off them. I'm not going to show you, it's not worth it. What that means is I could now wire up the VVT solenoids. So I think I'm going to do that. at least I can continue making progress. Right, I've just been doing some reading up on these variable valve timing solenoids, and I was wondering which wire to put to which pin, and I found out it doesn't matter. They're not polarity sensitive, which means it's just on and off. So it can be controlled from the negative, which is what this one does from the ECU, controls the ground, switches it on and off. So it doesn't matter. The ground can be on either pin, it just breaks the circuit either way. So I'm going to carry on wiring it now. Right, I'm just going through lists, trying to tick things off. So I'm currently doing the cooling fans. So it comes with a bit of wiring from Frontline, who supplied the fans. I've got to modify it a little bit, but only because of my application. I'm not going to use their relay, I'm going to use the one that I've already got installed in the car, which makes it a bit complicated, but never mind. So this is the wire to the cooling fans. So this is the one that's sending the 12 volts directly to them. So that needs to go into that connector there, which I've kind of hidden behind there for now. This blue wire needs to join both of the cooling fans together on their positives, on the red wire. And then each cooling fan needs to be ground after that. So what I've decided to do is, what the diagram says, to join them both into one connector, like that. I'm going to join it in the middle of this line, if you like. So I pulled that apart. I'm going to use one of my soldered joint connections and put them together with some heat shrink over it. I think that's better than trying to cram two wire ends into one connector that's not quite big enough. So I'm going to do that now. Right, cooling fans wired up. I still need to put the control in for it so that the ECU triggers them, but the actual fans themselves have power now. Well, I've got no battery. Once I've got a battery, they will have power, hopefully. Fingers crossed. I'm running out of time. I want to try and do one more bit of wiring today, and that is the cooling water pump. I've got two options for the cooling water pump of how to wire it. You can see it's down there, and I've got the wire coming up here to the connector, going through here, and it comes with its own relay and a fuse on the live and an earth point and everything. That's the easiest thing to do. Put this here somewhere, connect that up to a brown of the MG, which is the permanent live, hook the green up to a switch live, which is white wire, and there you go, done. It's a shame not to have my relay pack in there, which has got that auxiliary relay for any extra things, basically. For ages, I didn't know what an auxiliary relay did, but at the end of the day, it's just a relay, so I can have it do whatever I want it to. So I thought, cooling water pump. I've got a relay for the fans. Let's have a relay for the cooling water pump as well. Because of that, I'm gonna wire it to that relay. And that involves wiring it to the white and black wire that comes out of the auxiliary relay. And that's on the relay point 87, which is the switch, if you like. That's the thicker wire that goes to any of the equipment you're using. I can wire that into the positive of the cooling water pump. Here, the blue wire. And I can just wire the black wire to an earth and get rid of all of that. And it comes with a nice long bit of wire. That's where my white and black wire is now. I've fed it through. So it should be a case of cutting them, joining that to that, and probably this sheath in here I'll probably split and use that earth there, I think. All of these decisions I'm making are with my very basic understanding of wiring and electrical stuff. So bear with me. If you can see that I've done something wrong, please tell me, because it might just help. Well, there you go, that's all wired up. Don't forget, I'm going to tidy all the wiring up at the end. I'm just getting it in a rough place now. So that goes to that earth there. And that goes to a little connector here. I'm going to hide all of that behind the engine in that bit there. So yeah, still loads to do. All those wires need to go to somewhere. But I'll tackle that another day. This is going to be a few weeks worth of work, I think. I will be condensing it down a lot for the video. So I'll see you bright and early in the morning at some point. I'm just in the garage on one of my half an hour's free, so there was no point filming everything, but I'll just show you this. So I'm just putting together my injector wires, sorry, my coil wires. So you need a trigger to two of the coils, because it's running a wasted spark system, which basically means you trigger both coils at the same time. So this one is coil 1 and coil 4. You see I've split the wire, and then I've wrapped the other wire around it, and I'm going to use this soldered joint, solder it, make it all nice and strong, and then slide this bit of heat shrink over the top of it. I've already done a load of them for like the actual power to the coil and the trigger to the coil there. So I'm trying to run it all in like this central loom here, and then I can wrap it all at the end. And voila! That looks quite professional. Right, good morning. It's been a while actually since I've been in the garage. I've been on holiday in a few different bits and bobs. I've been working a lot, I've been on night shifts. So I've had a few hours here and there where I've come in the garage. You might have seen a little bit of that footage. But now I need to crack on. I've got a full day today. Well, I say I've got a full day. The wife's just called to say the car we bought 2 weeks ago, for her to be our nice reliable car, has just gone into limp home mode. So I might have to go and do that instead. But I'm hoping to have a full day on this car today. I've done a little bit, and I'll show you what I've done since I last gave you an update. You can see all the wires coming through there into that fuse box. I think I showed you that already. I've wired up the coils. VVT's wired up. Obviously, all the injectors and everything are wired up through that block there, which I showed you. The cooling fans are wired up through here. I need to wrap all of this, but I'm going to do it at the end. What else have I done? The temperature for the coolant is wired in there. I'm going to try and put the MG one to this. I think it should work, or get an MG one to go to that. I'm currently trying to wire up this camshaft sensor, or cam positioning sensor. Now, that plug there is not the same as the Loom that I've got's plug. That bit inside is too big. It won't slide on properly. I've looked everywhere for the right size plug or connector, and I can't find one anywhere. So I'm going to put the pins directly on and heat shrink them over it, I've found some pins in there which are a nice snug fit. That's going to have to be my solution for now anyway. I'll keep on looking for the right plug, and if anyone here knows the difference on a 2002 engine compared to a 2004 engine with the cam positioning sensor and crank positioning sensor plugs for an AJ30 engine, please let me know, because I'm struggling with it. So I'm going to wire it up like this for now. It'll work with some heat shrink and stuff over it, so hopefully they won't kind of touch and short out and stuff. And I need to know from this plug, I know that the black wire is the ground, because I've looked through the Jaguar wiring diagrams, which, as you can imagine, are extremely complicated. But I found the black is ground and the orange for this cam sensor is the site signal. I'm going to try and wire it up the same way it would fit into here, and hopefully that's right. And I can test the polarity of that and stuff once I've got it all kind of powered up and things. So my next job is to wire the crank sensor and the cam sensor up, and then wideband and stuff like that. I'll have a figure what I still need to do, because there is still a few things that I need to kind of go for. I need to sort out my map sensor and things like that as well. What I also did do, so I've wired up the oil switch and the oil temperature sensor, which are both down here, the grey wire and that wire. I've run the wires along the chassis leg and up here behind the engine and into the loom. So I will obviously wrap all that as well. So I will try and crack on with kind of hard wiring that cam sensor. I only need one cam sensor. I've asked Emerald. Obviously this car's got 2 cam sensors. I only need one of them. It can do the sequential injection through that essentially, with the combination of the crank and that cam sensor, with all this witchcraft that goes on in an ECU. Right, that cam and crank sensor are wired in, hardwired in. I could pull the pins out if I had put a little bit of strength through it, but they're not going to fall out. So I'm happy with the wiring, and I'll continue looking for some actual plug for those. But for now, that will do. I'll show you kind of how it looks at the moment. So that's that kind of one there. See all the wires coming down the heater box there. Obviously I need to tidy all those up, wrap them and whatever. That's going to be a job in itself. And to be honest, the cam wire comes all on there. All these cable ties are going to go once I've wrapped it. I'll just have a few then. And it follows the alternator wiring down and to the crank sensor, just down there. To have a look now to see what's the next best thing to wire. I think I might try and crack on with the wideband sensor, which arrived. So that's got a gauge which acts as like a sender unit as well, and I can put my wideband into my exhaust and put a gauge in the dash. So I need to kind of figure all that out. So that's the wideband. It's an AEM, which is compatible with my ECU. So I'm going to have a local display for wideband, and then if I can open this box with one hand, show you it comes with all the wiring and everything you need to kind of plug the ECU in or wire the ECU up, and it comes with the sensor and stuff. So I'm going to start kind of faffing about with that and seeing if I can get it at least roughly into the right place. So the wideband sensor wasn't as easy as I thought. But I thought I'd left enough room underneath the car for the wideband actual sensor bit to plug in and stuff. It does, but the wires are like running on the floor of the car. So as the exhaust moves, that's no good, is it? So I've had to come up with a solution. That is my solution. I've cut a hole in the floor. I've just put some primer around it. So now that sensor goes through there and plugs in, and it'll go down a bit lower than that, and just the wires will be poking out the top, but that'll have a little bit of room to move. I've already put a grommet on the side of it so that I can slide that into place. I'll let that dry, and yeah. I need to tell you my next plan, where to mount this gauge. Now, I've had a few ideas, but there's one that's stuck. I want it to be stealthy, this car. I don't want you to know that it's got anything else going on. apart from when you open that glove box. So I'm going to mount this gauge here. So when you open the glove box, you can see it and you can do some tuning, and it's pointing towards the driver. When you close the glove box, I'll have enough wire there for it just to fold up into place. So that's my idea. So I need to attach it to this. Now, to do that, I'm going to use this bit of exhaust, just this end bit. I've just clamped that in there to stop it squishing so I can get the thing like a good purchase on it. And I'm going to mount that in there like that, and then just put a bolt through the bottom and attach it to that over there. I can't put a plate because it'll cover the plugs up. The only thing I could do is put like a little bar across, but I don't want to do that. So I think that with either a welded tab or a little bolt hole through or something to attach it to that glove box would be a really good idea. So there you go, a really simple mount that I can see from the driver's side, but will also close up, unlock and not see. And then you pull it down and it's there. I need to get my wiring in the back and hook it over the top here so that there's enough kind of space in the loom to do that. So you can see the wiring in the back there, and then that goes to the other side of the ECU and plugs in. But I think that's quite a neat solution. Basically, I welded 2 tabs on there for the little connector in the back to kind of tighten up against. I don't think that looks too bad. Kind of sleeper mode, isn't it? Bye-bye. Ah, air fuel. Right, let's try and get the oxygen sensor. Every time I do something else just flies out. Let's try and get the oxygen sensor in that hole. So I'm carrying on just trying to knock things off on this. That wideband sensor is wired in, ground's in, sensors in, there's a fuse link in, all that type of stuff. Ground goes to this that I've put in, and with the bolt on top, so it's an easy access to get the grounds off. It goes to that bottom point there, and it's also triggered by the main relay on these commons. You can trigger that by the fuel pump relay as well. I'm hoping the relay's all right to do all of this. If not, I can start spreading it a little bit more. Goes into there, and the joiner here, joiner here, to get my grounds and things, and then that's where the wideband is there, and it closes up nicely. So yeah, we're coming together. I'm now wiring the idle air control valve, which is basically like a little intake with a little stepper motor on it that sets the idle, which is down here. And this has got a weird connector because you pull the wires through first, then crimp them on, and then pull them back to seat them. So I'm going to crimp these and pull them back and try and plug it in under there to that connector at the back of the valve. So that's what I'm doing now. I've tried to route them kind of in the manifold there. Everything, when it gets all wrapped and stuff, hopefully this will be quite neat and keep quite a lot of the wires away from kind of what you're looking at all the time. Right, that's all wired in, so that's good. I have now taken the intake manifolds off, but left the kind of adapters on because I need to do my MAP sensor, manifold absolute pressure sensor, and it can basically monitor the pressure inside the manifold to help with the fuel and air kind of mixture. Now, I don't have a manifold as such because I'm running ITBs, so I'm going to put a plenum on my ITB kind of intake manifold after the throttle body. So I'll show you what I mean. So I've got these vacuum points here, and the same on the other side, and I've got this plenum here, which I'm going to bolt to here like that. I'm going to run all these in the middle, and run them up, and spread them out to there, and then my IVAC is going to come in here, and it will bleed into these ports, and allow the idle, and then this will sense what pressure's coming on with my MAP sensor, which will be here. Hopefully I can use that to make it look nice and tidy. I've been hunting around, I was thinking about mounting this here and all over the place, but that is just the easiest place, and I think I can make those kind of hoses look nice and neat anyway. So that is the plan. Mount that, run hoses, mount MAP sensor, done. I'm going to pause doing my map sensor because I've run out of tubing. I bought one reel, thought that'd be enough. Massively miscalculated. So I've ordered some more of that, so that's on the way. So what I'm going to do instead is wire up my TPS, throttle positioning sensor. Now I've got two of them, I only need one. So I'll leave one as a spare and coil the wire up or something. And hopefully just be able to plug it in if one fails maybe, I don't know. But I need to test which wire is which. So let me show you how you do that with a throttle positioning sensor. So the black wire on this is the signal. And that is because, so yeah, I know this is my signal wire because these two, you measure the resistance across them together and then you move this throttle. The resistance doesn't change because they're not connected. It's this, which is the signal wire, that kind of moves up and down the resistor. It's basically a big resistor in there, and it moves across as you open the throttle, and it gets closer to this wire or closer to that wire, so the resistance gets more or less, essentially. So what you can do is, you can see if I measure resistance across the signal in the blue wire, it is 5, I think, kilo ohms. And you measure it between the yellow wire and there, it's just less than 1, 0.8. Now, as I move the throttle, one will increase and one will decrease. And it's the one that decreases that's my 5-volt supply, and it's the one that increases, which will be the ground. Now, it looks like that's going to be the one that increases, and that's going to be the one that decreases. But I will check it by moving the throttle. But I've not got enough hands to do it all at the same time, so I'll let you know. I thought I'd set you up on a stand actually so you could see it. So if I put this here like this, you can see that is 5 kilo ohms. As I move this, it stays exactly the same. Okay, let me figure out why that's happening. Right, I had the wrong signal wire. So the signal wire is actually the yellow wire. My mistake. So now you can see that this wire here, as I connect it up, 4.7 ohms, kilo ohms, and as I move the throttle, it decreases. Okay? And on the black wire, it increases. So happy days. Black is increase, and blue is decrease. So I know how to wire that up now. Now I know that the yellow is the signal wire, the black is the ground, and the blue is the 5-volt signal. Obviously, their Triumph throttle bodies are Triumph throttle positioning sensor. So I need to convert that to Emerald ECU torque. So I think if I get my wiring diagram out, my throttle positioning sensor, and the black is the ground, the red is the power, and the green is the signal. So I need to wire it up, green to yellow, black to black, and red to blue. So there we go, we'll do that. So that's all wired in. So we're making such good progress. So happy. The last thing to wire in the engine bay, I know, I've still got wiring to do on the relay, so don't worry. But the last thing to wire on the engine bay is the intake air temperature sensor, which helps again adjust the fuel and air trim. I haven't got one in my manifold or anywhere. And what you can do is mount it in the engine bay close to the manifold to get a rough idea of the intake temp. So that's what I'm going to do. This is the sensor. I am going to drill a hole where I've marked that there and put that into the intake manifold on this side, because this is the one where I think will be hottest because the exhaust is, well, there. So I'm going to drill a hole, put that through there, and then it's the old castellated nut from the, I think it's the rear axle or something, I can't remember what I took it off. That seems to be the only thread that fits it, because it must be like a pipe thread or something. So this is a similar thread. It tightens up all the way, so I'm happy with that. So I'll clean that bolt up. I'll drill a hole through there, and I'll pop that through, tighten it up from underneath, and then wire it up. Right, that's all wired. My camera went off halfway through, which I've only just realised. It ran out of battery, so that's fantastic. Let me show you what it looks like. So I've got the air temperature sensor there, nice. And then everything else is bolted up. Throttle positioning sensor there, in. I've just cable tied the other one to it so that I'll probably put another end on this at some point, the same as that one. So I can swap them over if I need to. Yeah, it looks really good. The wires are all coming out there. So that needs all looming together. And then all looming all there, and then slowly remove the cable ties or cut some of them, or I don't know really. I've never done it before. So I'll kind of make it up as I go along, I think. But yeah, looks good. I'm going to call it a night. It's about 8 o'clock in the evening. So I'm going to go in, and then tomorrow, no, a couple of days time, we'll come out, finish the wiring the relay bits, and then put some oil in it, see if it turns over, see if the ECU connects to it. Lots of really exciting stuff. Don't think I'll start it. I might do. You'll have to stay till the end to find out. Hello, I'm back in the garage. It's in the afternoon. I had a round of golf this morning for the first time since I started the MG, I think. This MG has just taken up my whole life. So it's nice to get out and do something a little bit different, isn't it? But it's the afternoon now, and I've not got as much time today. As you know, yesterday I kind of finished wiring up the engine bay. I've not wrapped that loom or anything yet. I want to make sure everything works before I wrap it, basically. It shouldn't get too hot in a few seconds as I run the car and that type of stuff. I want to try and work out the reversing switch on the Mazda gearbox. There's two switches on a Mazda gearbox, a neutral switch and a reverse switch. Now, obviously, a Mazda RX-8 will have a neutral light in it or something that it uses when it's in neutral. I don't need that, I don't think. So I just need the reverse light. So I've had to test to see which one of those switches is the reverse and which one's the neutral. And I found which one is the reverse, and I'll show you how I did that. So I unhooked the wires from the top of the gearbox, so they were dangling down here, which is a pain because I had to get back underneath the car. And you can see two connectors there. And put my multimeter into the ohms for resistance, and I tested across these two connectors here. Now, it's going to be hard to do that whilst I'm holding the camera. Yeah, it's open circuit across those two when it is in neutral, and when I put it in reverse, I get a resistance of nearly nothing. So you'll have to believe me when I say that. They are the reverse switches, which is good. And this is my old Loom from the MG, which had the overdrive and the reverse switches. So my idea, because this should be exactly the right length and it's got the right colours for the MG. So I'm going to take this Loom apart, rewrap it, and put some different connectors on this end for the reversing switches, which are there. So I'm going to do that, and I'll let you know if it works or not. Right, that reverse switch is wired in, and I've tested it, and it works. So I set my multimeter to ohms again, and I went to this little connector at the back here, and when it's in neutral or in gear, it's open circuit. As soon as I select the reverse, with that plugged into my ohm setting, it goes to about 80 ohms. So it's about right, a bit of resistance in the wire. So there you go. So now that that's wired up, I can start with some other bits. So I need to wire the relays that are inside the car. In fact, shall I show you what I've done with that reverse switch first? You can see I put one of my connectors in there. So that's the gearbox cross member, that's the exhaust. And it goes to the side of the gearbox like that. So it's quite a good use of an RX-8 part and merging it with an MGB. And I've wrapped that whole loom in loom tape, cable tied it up, and it comes up near the starter motor. So I'm going to wire up some relays. I'll show you what it looks like afterwards. And then we're getting so close to being able to do stuff. I want to make the throttle work as well. I want to have a working throttle from inside the car before I give it a go and try and start it. Because I don't want to be pulling those and end up pulling one at a different rate than the other one. I need them both throttle bodies to be opening their throttles at the same time. Obviously, I'm going to need to balance them at some point as well. But yeah, I'll wire up the relays, then sort the throttles out. Relays are wired. The only thing left to wire is the tack. So I'll show you how to do that tomorrow. And then hopefully I can at least see if it'll turn over without throttles. And hopefully those parts come at some point tomorrow and I can make a working throttle as well. But we'll have to wait and see. So I will see you in the morning tomorrow to try and crack on with wiring this rev counter or tack. And if we can get a throttle going, great. Put some oil in the engine. We'll put some water in the radiator. And you never know, some spark and combustion might happen. We'll see. Good morning. Hoping to have a bit more of a successful day tomorrow. I felt like I was in the garage and out of the garage yesterday. Didn't get much done. So, going to try and get more done today. And it started off by my vacuum hoses arriving. So I've made an octopus of the engine. I don't like it. It doesn't look very good. What do you think? So each one of these is going to a throttle body or an intake below here on each one. And it sends, obviously, it lets us know what the pressure is in this plenum, which then the map sensor can read. And the IVAC control can read. So it's kind of, I've been told I don't need a map sensor and I don't need an IVAC. I can run the car on a different type of way. But I wanted to kind of have a decent idle control and stuff. So if anyone can think of a better solution for this, that won't fit down here. I might be able to put it at the back of the engine, but then that's where all the wiring is. I don't know. I don't like it, but obviously I'm going to shorten these studs down. Kind of is what it is, really. Maybe some kind of smaller vacuum hoses or routing them a little bit neater or something might help, but they have enough movement to allow the engine to move as well. I know that's solid mounted and that's obviously on the engine. Yeah. I've got stuff arriving today to do my throttle cable, which is good. I'm going to link both kind of throttle bodies together. So one cable will go from one throttle body to the other. As you pull the throttle on one, it'll pull the throttle on the other. So I don't need to run two kind of cables to the throttle anymore. I'm going to use the original MGB one because it's a pain to get out the wing. The outer sleeve anyway. And then I'm going to make up a few kind of cables and stuff to kind of fix that. I'm going to hook a cable from here through there to this point on this arm here. So as this one moves, it'll pull that one at the same time. So hopefully that works. And then I've got my throttle position sensor on this one. If anything happens, it should work out, but we'll see. I need to wait for all the bits to come that I've ordered. Halfords did not help yesterday. I'm also trying to wire up this rev counter. So I've got this tack fix. So basically, on a MGB, you get the kind of rev counter signal from the coil, and it's so many pulses equals an RPM, etc. And it takes that and it converts it into an RPM. I'm not explaining this very well. But on my car, I've got coil on plug, and it goes to the ECU, and the ECU sends out a signal, but the ECU signal is not powerful enough to do anything to this tachometer because it's set up to run from a coil. So I need to up the power. So this ups that signal to the tach from the ECU. So I need to wire this in. Now I need to figure it out because on the back of that tachometer, it's got ignition source in, ignition source out. It's easy for me to say. A 12 volt supply to the electrics and the ground, and some lamps and stuff. I'm not bothered about them. So I need to wire the ground up of this tach fix to the ground of the rev counter. The green ignition supply I need to wire up to the 12 volt of the tachometer. And then I need to wire the ECU bit to the ECU bit signal, and then which is the orange goes to the ECU and the yellow goes to the back of the tach. So that's what I'm getting on with. It's all fiddly and really hard to see. It's really hard when you're doing wiring to try and film it and get in good positions and that type of stuff. So I'm just trying to blast through it, and then hopefully we can film all the good stuff at the end when it starts to turn over and things. Hopefully anyway. So bear with me and I will give you some updates in a bit. So before I go any further, I want to put some oil in this engine because knowing me, I'll forget. I don't want to turn it over or see if it cranks or anything like that without oil in it. So I've literally bought some Halfords 5W30, the cheapest one I could get. It's going to be in there for all these testing purposes. And then hopefully we'll put some Castrol GTX or something like that in there. After 100 or so miles, I just didn't want to waste any good oil in the first kind of bit. So it should take about 6 and a bit litres, but I have got an oil cooler and I have got that. Obviously the oil pump's not going to get round to kind of pushing it all the way around that system, but probably put this full 5 litres in. And then I'll check the dipstick and see where we're up to really. I'll have a look under the car and see where it's leaking from if it is. Seems to be all right. I mean, when it's the viscosity is low, like it is at the moment, probably won't leak out of anywhere anyway. It's getting to such an exciting part of this build now. Putting oil in the engine. I still need to download the program onto the ECU, onto the computer and loads of other stuff, but I do just want to see if my wiring's okay for like the starter motor and stuff. If my ECU light comes on, all that type of stuff. So I've already got a new oil filter in there. Drink. See if that registers on the dipstick. You love it when you trap your finger in the dipstick. Ow. Ow. Stupid idiot. Well, that's right on the top fill line, so that'll be good enough for now. We'll obviously have to put some more in when the oil starts going around the engine. That'll do for like cranking it over and all that type of stuff, just to protect it. Right, let's put a battery in. God, everything needs such a big tidy up in this car. Ugh, there is crap everywhere. Right. I bought the Uwasasasa battery with, if you watch Ice Kit Garage, a go handle. It's good. Now, I'm hoping it's the right size. It should be. It's HSB 063, and this is also a 063. I bought the US one because it has more cranking amps and stuff for obviously this big engine. Tight fit, but it is in there. This is the magic moment where we've got to be on fire watch, okay? Things might start clicking and stuff. Obviously the ignition's off at the moment, Things have just got power. Can't smell anything. You just do a quick walk round. I think we're okay. Next step, turn key. See if the engine kind of will turn over. It's not going to start because nothing's hooked up and there's no fuel in it. But we'll see if it turns over. Right, so I've left the fuses out for the coils and the injectors, which is good. The fuel pump and stuff is hooked up. I don't like it to run dry, but at least I'll be able to hear it, see if it does come into life. Same with the water pump. I'll be able to hear that and see if it comes to life. Again, I don't like running that dry either. I'll put some water in the system after this initial kind of turn of the key. I'd literally want to see, does the engine turn over? Have I wired the starter motor correctly? Or is it just going to start smoking? So we'll see. I'll set you up on the camera and I will turn the key and see what happens. I have a key, I found it, it's green. We will try, well yeah, just go for it. See if it turns. I think I've wired everything up, I've double checked everything. So yeah, let's just see if the engine spins. Very nervous. I've not done this off camera like you might think, just to double check it works or anything. This is just me giving it a go in front of you lot. See what happens. Oh, the fuel pump came on. ECU on. I might need to take the fuse out of the fuel pump. I don't want that to run like that. Oh. Right, so I've pulled the fuel relay out. So the MG's fuel pump is now working, which is good. It's dropped some fuel into the tank actually, into the swirl pot. Right, let's just go for a turn the key. Oh! It turned. It then stopped turning, but it turned. Do I do it again? Let me just double check the starter motor. It's not ideal that I can smell fuel. Let me just check some of my connections. I've disconnected the battery. I need to do some investigating and I'll be back with you. I've been searching and searching and searching for why this won't start. I think I found the answer. Do you remember me telling you that the earth strap on the engine didn't quite seem up to scratch? Do you remember me saying that? Don't know if it was this episode or last episode. I can't remember. It's not. It's definitely not. It's very melty. So when I did smell something, that's probably what it was. Which is fantastic. So now, luckily I bought another earth strap. So I'm going to try and, I'll disconnect the battery and connect a new one up and see if that was my issue all along. Right, so I put a new ground strap on. I have reconnected the starter solenoid and undid everything I just did to try and figure out what the issue was. So basically I diagnosed it by looking at the positive coming to the starter solenoid and then grounding it to the block, and there was no volts. And obviously when I ground it to the car, there was volts. So the engine didn't have ground. And obviously there's rubber bushes, there's no prop shaft, there's nothing to ground it through the gearbox or anywhere. So yeah, good though. Figured that out. I might need to put some more ground straps on. Obviously a lot of current passing through that one wire. Well, let's actually see if it works. Oh, yes. First problem overcome. Yes. Right. I've just realised you've never seen me with glasses on, have you? This is how I look most of the time. I'm like Clark Kent. It's my disguise in public. Not that anyone recognises me. I tried to connect my Emerald ECU to my computer, hence the glasses. I need my glasses to see the computer. It comes with this. My laptop doesn't have that. Another oversight, another thing that's going to take time away from this. Never mind, I've ordered an adapter. That should be here tonight before 10 o'clock, which is no good to me right now, is it? So I'm going to put the fuses back in for my fuel pumps, reconnect my MGB fuel pump, and basically I've got a swirl pot fuel pump for the high pressure side. I'm going to try and set up some of the bits. So like I want to set the regulator up to 40 psi. I want to make sure fuel goes through to the rail and doesn't leak, all that type of stuff. So I'm going to kind of get on with that, and I'll let you know what it looks like, or not what it looks like, I suppose, if it works. So yeah. Right, well, we had a bit of a disaster. I've calmed down now, but I was extremely annoyed. Let me show you. Fuel pressure regulator leaked, petrol, and I thought this paint was petrol resistant, but it looks like it wasn't, or that it's got underneath and gone onto the primer or something. But how bad does that look now? After painting this whole engine bay and making it all look nice, then now I have that. So then I went and chased all the leaks. So there was one coming from here, one coming from the top there, which I put a hose and a bolt in the other end, and some Jubilee clips. And then the filter was leaking down there, so I've put a big, longer piece of hose on there now with some bigger bends, and I've put some PTFE tape on the threads in there, so that all seems okay. The only thing I still don't understand is it won't hold fuel pressure after it's primed. It just drops straight back off again. So yeah, I can't see any more leaks, but I'm going to keep on hunting to see if I can find any. Maybe even the injectors are bad, I don't know, or there's no check valve in the pump or something, but it gets up to 40 psi and then just slowly drops off. Not ideal. My Amazon delivery arrived for my throttle stuff. So I have made a throttle and a throttle linkage, and it works. You know what? I'm not used to that at the moment. Everything seems to be going wrong. So when something just works straight away with your first idea, happy days, isn't it? I'll see. So MG throttle, just use a bolt there, loops round and goes into here, like that, to this one. Then I've got one of those throttle connectors, dead strong, doing fine, into a 90, into a 135, to here, and a wire going to here. As I press the throttle, which I will simulate, here, that opens, and that opens. And I've adjusted them so they're both open at the same time, they're both closed just at the right point and stuff. But yeah, really, really good. So it's now late, I'm tired, so I'm going to go back inside and do a bit of tidying up because I've left a mess everywhere, as per usual. Obviously, I've got an Amazon delivery coming, so I can attach my ECU to my computer with a USB lead. So that should arrive tonight, but it's going to be a lot later. So I will try and hook it up tomorrow afternoon because I'm busy in the morning, and we'll see if we can get the ECU talking to the car and stuff. I don't know how to program it or anything, but we'll give it a go, and we'll try and make at least spark off and at least idle maybe. I don't know. If not, we've still made really good progress so far. So I'll see you tomorrow. Hello, it's Glasses Clark Kent Henry. I have, I think, set up this ECU for the car to the best of my abilities. I've not done some of the settings on there because it wasn't needed yet, just to get it running. So oil temperature, I've not set up the parameters for that. Air and coolant temperature are in. I've not done my idle air control valve. I have done my map sensor, It's already got a preloaded map on it for the injection and all that type of stuff, so that's okay. I'll show you what the ECU screen looks like, because it's taken a while for me to get my head round. So the ECU is off at the moment because the ignition's off, so that's where they're all X's. If I turn this on, you hear the fuel pump start, and they all kind of come on, and I just turn it back off again because I don't want the fuel pump just to be on all the time because I've plugged everything back in now. Basically, I can set up on here details. So it came already with that. So I'm going to trust that those injectors are the same. I know that it's sequential injection type, which means that it can inject each injector separately. Events, that's stuff you can set. Yeah, not sure about any of that yet. Obviously, apart from the cooling, that one's not used. That makes sense because I've set my throttle positioning sensor, so my throttle works, and the ECU knows how much throttle I'm putting on. And there are my rev limits, which I've not got a shift light, but the rev limiters are important. You can go up higher than 7,000 RPM on these engines, but that's sensible for now. So that's my kind of ignition map, which I'm not 100% sure on. It only goes to 94 on the throttle positioning sensor, and then it runs out. So that's a bit strange. Injection map. Idle control. At the moment, the idle control is set by advancing the ignition timing. So I'm not going to mess with it at the moment. We'll see if that works. Obviously, I want to try and use my IVAC controller at some point, but I might do that when I do plan to go to Emerald. So this can correct the ignition timing based on the coolant and air temperature. More in injection corrections. So that's ignition corrections, that's injection corrections for coolant and air temp. All this has already been set by Emerald, so I'm not going to mess with it. It's live adjustments. So you can go to ECU configuration, then you can look at, that's strange because that was in there before. But obviously the ECU is now off, so I can't adjust any of this. This is just remembering its last settings. So I've set my Lambia sensor up there, my wideband sensor, so that's all good. So all I can do now really is turn the key. I'm so nervous about this. I'm just expecting it to work. I don't know if it will. I'm hoping that the ECU knows what position the engine's in, because it's got the same crank sensor and cam sensor that it had when it last ran on this ECU. But I don't know, all those settings are in there, so I don't know. All we can do is see if it starts to fire, and if it does, great, and if it doesn't, then we can start messing with that type of stuff, I suppose. Yeah, so nervous. I'm going to set you up on the camera, and I'm going to try and turn the key. Right, I have not tried to start this yet. I honestly do not know what's going to happen. I know that I've got lots of crap everywhere. It might rattle itself to death. Then I'm just going to go for it. Let me just check you're on. Let's do the first start and you guys not actually be able to see it. If it starts, that is. I don't know if it will or not. Let this fuel pump prime. It started. It started. I turned it off because I know I need to check the... Oh my God, I need to check the oil and everything. But oh my God, that worked. Alright, sorry, I got a bit scared then. Oil is fine. I did top that up. I need to wait for the oil pump to actually get going for it to put oil around the engine. So let's try it again. Yeah. Doesn't sound ideal, but it is running. I need to work out some bits on here whilst it's running. But yeah, the engine turns over and runs. There you go. It starts, it lives, it needs some tuning, it needs me to go through that ECU and figure out what it's doing. A few issues that I've noticed already are the air-fuel ratio doesn't seem to be correlating correctly. It says on my gauge in the car it's 11, which is really rich, but it's achieving target on the ECU. That's strange. It's like there's a calibration issue between them. Second issue, as soon as I rev the engine, as a few people said, my elbows to my intakes just close in. They can't cope with the vacuum, there's not much strength in there. So it just strangles the air going to the engine and makes it even richer, because obviously less air, but the same amount of fuel. So it's running really rich in all senses of the term at the moment, which isn't ideal. But it starts, it lives, it means I've wired it up correctly. Everything works as it should. I've not had it hot enough to check the fans and things yet, but we'll see if that works when it comes to it. It's, from what I've heard, the exhaust sounds great. So yeah, I'll do a proper full tune and kind of hearing what it sounds like and everything properly in the next episode. I'll get in touch with Emerald and we'll see if they can help me out in any way. I need to fix that intake. In the meantime, I need to come up with a oil vent for the top of the cam covers. But yeah, it's looking good. So that there just sucks in and stays in when it's under any kind of load. It'll idle, but it won't load. Coolant seems to be flowing around. It's obviously got into the heater core and stuff, which is good. Fuel system's obviously working. There was stuff kind of burning off the exhaust and off this wrapping and stuff. That's really, really hot. But yeah, all good. Should we try it just one more time for you? See how that sucked in straight away? Well, that's not good. So I don't want to run it like that, really. But it starts on the button, which is good. I need to put some metal or something joiners in here. I think that'll be one of my next jobs. Good morning. Now, I actually ended the episode the other day, which you won't have seen, but I decided, no, I need to get this running more properly. Basically, which you didn't see, which I noticed at the end of the day, is there was oil leaking out of places. Most of the fittings from like my oil cooler and stuff. So I need to fix that. So I want to get it running properly before I end the episode. Not tuned up, but idling properly and a few other bits and bobs. So I also want to do is take my prop shafts to Northwest Prop Shafts to see if they can make one up for me. So that potentially we can actually move it by the end of this episode, because that would be good. So to do that, I need to measure from the back of the gearbox to where the oil seal is to the differential. So I'm going to do that and then drive up there, about 30 minutes away or so, give them all the bits that I've got, and hopefully they can make something out of that. So it was too hard to film under there. I did try. 81 centimeters my prop shaft needs to be, and that's from the end of the oil seal on the gearbox to the differential kind of coupling or whatever you would want to call it, flange. So I need to take my RX-8 prop shaft and my MGB prop shaft to the prop shaft place and see if they can cobble together one with a RX-8 front and an MGB back. I don't need it to have a slip yoke like the MGB original one does, because that was two solid flanges on either side, whereas the RX-8 gearbox has a slip yoke in it. That's how it's connected to the gearbox itself, so it should just be a solid prop shaft So yeah, I'm going to take that up there now, see if they can make me one to fit, and hopefully in the next week or so I'll get it back. Right, I'm back. So went to Northwest Propshafts in Chorley, and really nice guys there. They said 290 quid to make the prop shaft plus VAT, which I thought was really good, and they can do it in a day, which is amazing service, really, isn't it? So hopefully I'll pick that up tomorrow or at some point after my night shifts. So next I need to fix some oil leaks, and I'll show you where the oil was leaking from. This adapter here, you can see where the oil is coming out here, was just spewing oil, and I don't understand why, because I put some O-rings in here, but it is what it is. So luckily it's higher than the sump. There'll be some oil in these lines and some in there. I should be able to take them off and put some PTFE tape on it or something, try and seal them up a bit better. It was also leaking from just the top of here as well, which is strange. So I might see if I can just tighten that up a little bit. And the same connection, but on the side of the engine, it was also leaking from, which definitely isn't ideal because it's really hard to get to. But it is what it is. So I'm going to take them off, try and wrap them up, try and make them leak tight, and put it all back together because I don't want oil leaks. I put a modern engine in it, so I don't have to have oil leaks. So I'm going to do that. Right then, I have tightened those oil lines up. Hopefully they don't leak now. And I have done the intake manifold on the passenger side because I had 4 90-degree 2-inch right angle pieces left over my exhaust. I've got some more on order, so I'll be able to do the driver's side when they arrive. Let me show you what it looks like. They're going to be far stronger, they're not going to collapse. Don't look as good, I don't think, with all the Jubilee clips. I couldn't use the big T-bar Jubilee clips because obviously I didn't have enough room for them, so I had to use the normal ones. But I think that'll be okay. And then as you can see, I put PTF on there. The one down there was extremely difficult to get to. So yeah, I'm gonna not start the car again today because I want to do the other inside of the intake manifold first. So I'll call it quits for now. I'll go get some sleep before my night shift, and I'll be back in at some point this week to do the other intake manifold and to start it up again and see if there's any leaks or whatever. So we'll do that. So I'm in between night shifts now. So I woke up stupidly early, which is a mistake. Never mind, I've come in the garage. Mostly I wanted to tell you that that prop shaft that I went to obviously drop off and everything, it took them 2 hours to build me a complete custom prop shaft. So this is Northwest Proshafts. The service was unbelievable. Now this isn't paid. I've not got any discount or anything on this. It's just, I like to appreciate good workmanship and just good customer service and stuff. It was fantastic. I'm really, really impressed with them. I'll show you the prop shaft. It looks great. So brand new yoke on it, all painted up to a MG flange on the end there. Super impressed with that. I'm going to install it into the car, and then I'll catch up with you later on in the week to finish off that intake manifold, fill the gearbox with oil, that type of stuff. I've not got any in at the moment in stock, so I need to go to the shops and buy some oil. And then hopefully we can drop it down in its paws, drive it out of it, at least on idle anyway. Nothing works first time, does it? So, I thought I'd measured everything properly. Got the right dimension for the prop shaft and stuff. What I neglected to think about was the U-joint in the prop shaft. The U-joint in the prop shaft is too wide for the tunnel when it's connected to the gearbox. It'll go in the tunnel, it's fine. It's just when you try, you can't slide the end of the yoke into the back of the gearbox because it hits the side. More fabrication needed, which is ideal, isn't it? I thought I'd put away all my welding stuff for the last time. Obviously not. starts to get to projects like this, when you just hit so many roadblocks after roadblock after roadblock, and I try and stay as positive as I can, but it's a pain. There's no point dwelling on it though. It is what it is. We move forward, we move on, and we get it done, don't we? So you can see there is the back of the gearbox. There's the prop shaft. I've just left it rest in there, but I don't really want to move it. But there's a U-joint that's probably around here somewhere. And you can see as I'm trying to slide it in, it's just hitting the side there. It's really close, but yeah, no cigar. So I'm going to have to measure up from here to there, probably cut an inspection patch in so I can see what I'm doing, install the prop shaft to see how much room I've got, and then build some sort of bubble or cylinder shape or something where the prop shaft sits to allow movement of the gearbox, though it doesn't move that much, it's a small bush. And the rear axle obviously goes up and down, so it's got to have movement up and down as well. So pain, but it is what it is. So a rough little sketch. That's the gear knob, end of the gearbox. So my slot that I need to cut out needs to be 10 centimeters away from the shifter, 7 centimeters up, and 14 centimeters up. So it's going to be a 10 centimeter slot down there to start off with. So I'm going to mark that out on the gearbox, on the tunnel, try and protect all the wiring and everything I've done. I'm not sure how yet. I might get some tin foil or something and wrap it all around it. And then, yeah, get the grinder out, cut a nice neat square that I can hopefully make a tube or a box section that kind of juts out, and let's just hope the passenger seat fits after I've done it. No, I'm not doing a roast dinner. I am going to cut this out, and I just thought a bit of tin foil would just stop the kind of wires melting potentially, causing more issues. So you can see my white lines there is where I'm going to cut. I'm going to start from this end and kind of peel it back so I can stop where I need to. I might need to make it bigger that way or bigger that way, I've not decided yet. I might need to take it further back, I've not decided yet. But all I can do at the moment is get my grinder in there and cut this inspection hole to try and see a bit more what's going on. So I'm going to do that now. Right, you can see I've kind of folded that back there, and you can see how close that U-joint is, and that's obviously where the prop shaft goes down. So here's not too bad. I should just be able to take this up a little bit further and then bow it out a little bit. Not obviously that much, but a little bit. I'm going to take this back to this kind of joint here. It comes down and probably up to the top of it and come down to meet this here. So it'll be like a diagonal line all the way from there to there, and then I should be able to bring something around and then tuck it back down. That's the idea anyway. So I'm going to draw that new shape out, cut it out with the prop shaft there, I think, and then, yeah, we'll get to kind of welding in some fresh metal. So you can see I've drawn the rough shape out on there, so I'll cut that out, put a score down that line down the middle, so I can bend that up. Once I've bent that up, I can obviously start shaping it, so I can get my hammers out and start trying to put a curve in to meet the contours of that kind of transmission tunnel. That's hard work with that really thick steel. I've got it into a really rough shape where it fits on some bits and doesn't on others. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to tack it on the bits that it fits, get some nice strong welds in so that they don't crack or anything when I use a hammer to try and pull the other bits together to get a nice seal all the way around. I'll end up using the grinder to cut bits and that type of stuff, but it is what it is. See, it's going to be like a little bulge that sticks out there. So I'm going to tack it there. Do some nice strong welds, probably up to about here and about here. And I'll do some underneath as well. Put some more tinfoil down. And then I'll use my hammer to hammer that back down, put a grinder mark all the way down so I can weld it, blah, blah, blah. It's going to be a painstaking process, but yeah, I'll try my best to kind of make it look decent. See, I know the weld's crap, there's loads of contaminants and stuff. I will clean that off. I'm going to take the prop shaft back off. I just want to get it in a rough shape before I commit to completely welding it. These are all just tacks. So obviously got the rough shape up here, little gap there, but I can fill that with weld. This one I'm going to have to put a sliver of metal in. I'm going to have to close that up a bit more and then weld it from underneath. But it's starting to take shape. You can see it's just a little bulge to allow that prop shaft to turn. But I've run out of time today. I've got to go and do a 12.5-hour night shift, which is ideal. So yeah, I'll be back on it next week, I think, to try and finish that off and get that prop shaft in properly. It's contracting. Get that prop shaft in properly, and then we can do the stuff that I wanted to do. Just start the engine, try and tune it a little bit, wrap the wire in Loom, that type of stuff. So I'll see you then. Good morning. I'm finally back in the garage. It's been a while actually. I need to sort out this transmission tunnel because it's the kind of the thing holding me back now. I've got oil ready to go in the gearbox. I've got the prop shaft ready to go in. Just need some clearance in this transmission tunnel. So you saw me start to make that kind of bulge on the side. I'm not 100% happy with it, but I'm at the point now where it'll do. It's going to be covered by carpet as long as it's welded in and it's strong and it's adding to the structure of the car, which that transmission tunnel does. I'm happy. So I'm just going to melt it in and we'll deal with it afterwards. I'll dress it up, I'll grind it back and stuff, but let's just get this piece of metal in the car, get the prop shaft in, get oil in the gearbox, drop it down on its wheels and drive it out of the garage. I'm going to put you on some time lapses whilst I just go for that. Right, there we go. That's all welded in and I've primed it and I've now put seam sealer on it and the prop shaft installed. It's all bolted in, tightened up, it fits. Hallelujah. Oh God, I can't wait to drive this car and not work on it, although I don't think that'll ever happen because And there'll always be something, won't there? But let me show you this little repair. So that's what it looks like now with seam sealer on. Yes, I've put the paint on too thick, but I can rub that back or something. But yeah, seam sealer's on. That tinfoil protected the wiring, which is good. It doesn't look too bad. Once there's carpet on there and stuff, you won't be able to tell. I don't think. I think the seat should still fit and stuff. So yeah, the prop shaft's all installed, which I don't need to show you. It's a prop shaft at the end of the day. I've put under seal on the inside of all of that, where I've just kind of primed it, then put under seal on. So that's now good to go. So I need to put some oil in the gearbox. 75 W90 GL4 oil for the Mazda RX-8 gearbox, and it needs about 1 3/4 litres. So I'm going to pop that in using my presser thing and pump. So the gearbox is full of oil. Didn't leak out, which is good. Tired now. I need this episode to be over. I've been filming it for well over a month. I need to put the tyres on, drop the car back down, clear the garage, because it's an absolute pigsty again. I've just not got enough room to work and have all my tools out and stuff. So I need to clear it all up. I need to clear under the carport as best I can. Probably do a couple of tip runs and stuff, to be honest. Then I can get the car out there into some light and yeah, just see if it moves forwards and backwards, basically. I still need to wrap the wire in Loom. I've not forgotten that. But obviously I don't want to do that if there's any issues that I've not found yet, because then I'll have to unwrap it all. So I will wrap it, and I'm not going to let the engine get too hot. So next time you see me, the car will be on the ground and the garage should be tidy. Right, it's now the end of the day. I have tidied. It all looks really good. Tidied the garage. It's chaotic in there, but now organised chaos. I just gave the car a quick start to see if I'd fixed the oil leaks. I hadn't. So I've had the whole oil system back off again. Tightened everything up more. I'm not going to use those type of fittings again, I don't think. The swivel fittings, I think I'll just use hard kind of 90s and stuff in the future, but it is what it is. The car is idling really, really rich, but it is idling. So that's good. I don't think turning the car on and off loads is helping it, to be honest. So what I want to do is drive the car out the garage. I want to finish the episode by driving the car out of the garage. Check the gearbox works, check the brakes work, all that type of stuff. So even though it's not running perfectly, that's what I'm going to do. So set you up on a camera and I will drive this car out of this garage for the first time with a new engine. It's out. The fueling is all over the place as soon as you put it under load, so not ideal. But it's out and it's running. It needs a tune. It moves. Success. There's a bit of rattling to start off with. I think that was the clutch kind of finding its way. I moved it backwards and forwards a few times off video and it went away, that noise, so let's hope that's not an issue. The fuel started to go really rich as soon as I put my foot down to kind of move it, and then put my foot down a little bit too much and it just went really lean. So definitely not right with the map, but hey, it's a start, isn't it? It moves under its own steam and it's out the garage for the first time in months, so that's good. So I can get on with cleaning the car and yeah, wrapping that wiring loom and stuff, which is good. So that's where it was leaking from. It seems to have stopped. There's no leaks under the car or anything now, so that's good. It got everywhere, so I just need to clean everything back up again. The coolant is vanished, so it means it's gone around the system a little bit, so I need to top that up. But yeah, doesn't it look good out in the open? Still need to sort out what I'm going to do with that bonnet. I need to cut some holes in it or something, I think, unfortunately. I think that looks really good. The next jobs are to wrap that wiring loom, make it all look nice and tidy, neat, make sure there's no wires on any hot things. And yeah, I'll put that breather on, as you can see. I'm going to do something else with that. I've just not decided yet. And I don't know about all this as well, but yeah, it's all like a work in progress, isn't it? I think it looks good. So then, that episode took me well over a month to film. Various reasons. One, I've never wired anything before. And two, I've been on holiday and stuff. It's summer in the UK, so we've been away, so I've not worked on it flat out. So yeah, if you're wondering why there's not been a video for a while, that's the reason. But we've made such good progress. I know I say it at the end of every episode, but I really think we do. The car is out the garage again. It runs, drives, it brakes, goes into gear, does everything you want it to do. Which is ideal, isn't it? Still such a long way to go. I'm going to book it in to get kind of a rolling road tune, I think. Make sure everything's kind of good and set up as much as I can at my end, and then go to Emerald, I think, who supplied the ECU, and they've got a rolling road there, and I'll see if I can get it tuned. I might even film an episode of them doing that. We'll see. Hello, Archie. Thank you very much for watching. Please comment anything that you think that you've noticed that I've done wrong, or any tips for wiring in the future, that type of stuff. Subscribe to the channel. We just hit 5,000 subscribers, which is epic. I don't even know what to say about that. I never expected to get to that many, so it's good. And yeah, I'll see you next time to carry on making this car look good. I think the next episode will be kind of polishing, wrapping that wiring loom, starting to on the interior, all that type of stuff. Kind of some more of the finishing touches, really. All heading in the right direction. Don't think I'm going to have it ready for this summer, unfortunately. I wanted to get it to a couple of shows at the end of summer, but I don't think we're going to be able to. It is what it is. I'll see you next time round.